This morning we're going to be having a discussion about how to achieve a better work-life balance, or whether that's even an achievable thing these days. Welly, Odendo, great to have you back.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here again.
Looking purple.
So are you?
Are you sure you're not? No, this is blue. Are you sure
blue.
you're not a cow? Because I've seen you with a red suit and I've seen you with a purple suit. I'm wondering what's going on. But anyway, good to have you here. Let's talk work-life balance. Remember, if you're watching and have any questions or comments, you can tweet them at Citizen TV Kenya, at Joey_Mutengi using the hashtag Powered Breakfast. You can also SMS on 22422. So first of all, maybe we can start by defining what a work-life balance actually is, because some people think of it as, half of my day is spent doing work and half of my days is spent, enjoying myself. But that's not really realistic.
Yeah.
I think the ratio varies depending on your priorities.
Yeah, I think so too. But I would also say that I think it's an illusion that exists in somebody's mind, that it actually makes it impossible for what you define as work-life balance and what I define as work-life balance is totally different. I think that life consists of two things: relationships and responsibilities. And the two of them, how you navigate them, is where you get your balance from. It's not how you
relationships and responsibilities. Sorry, I'm still there. I'm still there.
You're still.
I'm still on that one.
Reverse gear.
Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute, because I would hate to be in a relationship where someone feels like I'm a responsibility.
And people feel like that, but the truth of the matter is this: how somebody handles his responsibilities defines how he will be in his relationship, and how somebody handles his relationship. Most of relationship fights have got either to do with how somebody is not responsible or irresponsible. And most of the people who have got, as their responsibilities begin to grow, slowly by slowly, they feel like they threaten their relationships. So it's as though like this tension between relationship and responsibilities, it what actually defines the purpose and the meaning of life. And so when you are striving for balance, when you're striving to go out for balance, I think the main objective should not be that I have given this to this and this to this. It's about boundaries. And that's for me what balance is. Balance is developing healthy boundaries so that you don't find yourself that now you are miserable at work and miserable in a relationship. And you cannot develop healthy boundaries if you don't have what I call the buy-in. Have I bought into myself and invested in myself for the vision that I have and the value of meaning of life? What will I define at the end of my life that I lived a worthy life? So if I see that vision, then my relationships begin to be arranged along the path of that vision, because visions are timeless. I always tell people this: unfortunately, people are perishable. Martin Luther King was great, but he's no longer there.
Right.
He's perishable. He's a perishable commodity. But the vision of Martin Luther is still alive today. And so how you craft and define a timeless vision so that you are able to keep yourself engaged, that even at 80, at 90, if God gives you long life, you're still able to be fruitful, and you're still able to contribute and to help people to take up the responsibility of the vision that you started. It makes greater sense. So I don't think the balance is something that we can sit here and critically define it philosophically, that Joey has attained work-life balance and Welly has not. Because, okay, we can say, let's talk about maybe people who have got to serve maybe our armed forces, and you have to serve out of the country. So how do they define work and life? Where you're out of town maybe for 3 months or 2 months or 4 months, sometimes a year. So how do you define, or couples that sometimes you have to, one of you has gotten an opportunity to travel out of the country. So how do you define balance there? It's now, that's an imbalance by itself, because a responsibility has availed itself, but it's at the same time creating a gap in a relationship. And again, should you now not take this responsibility, the demands of life will mean this relationship will die of two things: either scarcity of resources or scarcity of the person. So I think it's an illusion that we have it in our head.
Yeah, but I like that you brought the vision aspect into it, because I think as a culture right now, it feels like we're so focused on achievement.
Yeah.
We're just trying to achieve the next and the next thing at work and get that pay rise. And, you know, we focus so much on achievement that enjoyment also almost becomes like, what? What is that?
I also want
people
to,
feel guilty when they're enjoying themselves.
I actually want to beg people to understand this, that when I hear, when people talk about work-life balance, they make them feel as if the two of them are diametrically opposing forces, that if you're working, you're not having life, and if you're having life, you're not working. These two are not fighting forces. They're not pulling that, like now it's your duty to pull life and to pull work so that at least you get some form of balance. These two are not contradictory to one another. They're actually complementary to one another. Work gives you purpose and life gives you meaning. If I just live and I don't work, I'll have no purpose for living. But if I just work and don't live, I'll have no meaning for my life. I'll feel a sense of I'm empty. So the two are not diametrically opposed to one another. So one should first of all understand that if I say that I'm trying to get work-life balance, what I'll do is that I'll put 50% in my work and 50% in my life so that I get them. Because that's how you balance scales. You have to make sure equal. I give 50, I give 50. But these two are directional, both of them. They all should be, my life and my work should be pushing me. I'm not the one pulling them. They should be pushing me towards a bigger picture than just saying that I've achieved symmetry and every time there's a tilt, I get imbalance, I get a tilt. Because life is not kind enough to provide for you a balanced environment for you to do anything you want to do. Life is full of disruption. Yeah.
I guess now the big question would be, if you find that your work and your life are not pushing you forward, you're just kind of in that place like you were talking about, just kind of balancing. What should you do then?
It just shows that either you have no meaning for life or you've not found your purpose for your work. So you found that now you're trying to make work to give you a sense of meaning, and you're trying to make life to give you a sense of purpose. So you've switched the roles that were supposed to be there. So that's why people complain, I'm just in a job, I don't have this, I don't have that. Or the person who is working is saying, I'm so bogged down, I'm so weighed down. If you people know how stressed up I am. And on the outside, people are thinking, but you are the one who is working, and we thought this work should give you what you would call meaning. But work was supposed to give you a sense of purpose, a sense of I am doing something. So it starts when you find yourself that you're just living that neutral, you're just trying to measure scales. Am I doing this? Am I doing this? You're putting yourself under undue pressure. The first pressure should be, what's the big picture of my life? And that's why I always tell people, you need to slow down. You need to slow down, take a step back and ask yourself, what's the big picture am I a part of? I'm a player in a game. And what role am I playing in this game called life, in this space with the talents that I have? Most of us have not spent enough time to interrogate themselves to know what are the things I'm naturally good at. And the things I'm naturally good at, how can I monetize them? How many of them can I monetize them within the skill set that I have, the resources that I have, the network that I have? How can I use them to monetize that which I have? Now, if you don't take time to interrogate yourself, you'll go around asking people, do I matter? And do I matter? Because you're finding that I'm alive, but I don't feel meaning. Or you'll go around asking people, can you get me something to do? Or can I do more? Can I do more so that I feel more meaningful? And before long, you're going to drain yourself dry.
Yeah. To the person watching who might be in a place that you just talked about where work is bogging me down, you know. And a lot of this can affect your home life as well, because now you're compounding all of the stress from your work life that you're unhappy with, and you're taking that misery home and having it become everyone else's problem. What are some of the dangers with just living that way?
Just living
like,
for what?
Like you're saying, this person hasn't taken the time to stop and think big picture. You're just, let me get to tomorrow, and tomorrow is disappointing as well, and, you know, compounding that.
He needs to write this statement where he writes important things. People are perishable. Even me, I'm perishable. Maybe 6 years from now, there'll be a better, maybe orange-dressed speaker. So I have to tell myself, no matter how much work I do, I am perishable. If you work as though you are not perishable, you'll be feeling like if I'm not there, things will just die. If I'm not there. And so you'll always be like holding people ransom. You've held responsibilities hostage because you don't want to delegate, because you feel I can't trust people because they will mess it up, because you never know that before you started working, somebody else
Someone
was
else had
working
that job,
and
yeah.
was doing that job.
Yeah.
And people are perishable. It's a painful thing, but it's an important thing. So it just tells me, once I do my part, and that's what I'm saying, when it comes to work-life balance, it's about boundaries. And one of the boundaries is that, when does your work end?
Right.
When you define, my work ends here. Now,
Yeah.
I don't have to be charming, I don't have to be sweet. If I'm a teacher and I have taught, any other thing outside teaching is personal choice.
Yeah.
If I'm a driver and I've driven, any other thing outside driving is personal choice. If I'm a doctor and I've treated, any other thing outside that is personal choice. But if I say that just because I happen to double up sometimes as pastor and sometimes as these people who we see as life coaches, and people feel they have a right of access anytime. They feel like it is your duty for you to be available to be seen by me when I want to. Even you celebrities, that's how people treat you. They see you on the street and they feel, I want to take a picture with you. I want to do, and you should always be happy. You should always be standing. You should always, and you're sometimes in the mood of, I don't feel like taking a picture.
Yeah.
Once I do this job, every other thing outside me doing this job is a personal choice. And so don't get to a place where your life has so much hijacked you, your work has hijacked you so much that now you cannot make a choice.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's choosing for you. I'm just there. You're going to burn out.
Yeah.
And that's why people talk of burnouts.
I want to take a look at some of what people are saying on social media. Remember, if you're tweeting, you can tweet at Citizen TV Kenya, at Joey_Muthengi using the hashtag Power Breakfast. We have Gilbert Amata saying work-life balance is attained by handling your responsibilities well, obviously learning a thing or two from Welly's conversation that we're having here about work-life balance. He says it is attained by handling your responsibilities well. So this question that you just brought up, Welly, I think it's something that we need to define, because he asked, when does my work end? And it's reminded me, I had a boss, my very first internship. And, you know, it's my first internship. I'm trying to get this job. I'm trying to impress everyone. And I remember I logged into my work email over the weekend and sent her an email of something I thought was important. And when I showed up to work on Monday, she said, look, if you are ever going to survive in this industry, you will not send me emails on weekends. She said she switches off completely. Once she's out the door, she's out the door. That's her life, that's her family, that's you know, time that you can get back. And that really made me think quite a bit about to what end, you know, are we going to try and impress, or are we going to try and be extra?
It's your boundary. Unfortunately, and that's why we struggle a lot, because for you to work, it's about, life is made up of relationships and responsibilities. And that's where our biggest weight comes in. So what happens is that you get into a workspace, because you're not working alone, the relationships of the people you're working with, your boss, your colleagues. So these relationships begin to intrude, and you've not formed boundaries because maybe you want to be the office hero.
Right.
You always wait, stay up late to lock the house. You always wake up and to lock the office and all that.
Yeah.
So slowly by slowly, that lack of you being strong enough to define boundaries. Currently, I am this, I am not A, I am not B, I am not C. I know it sounds rude when I'm saying it, but it is me trying to train the relationships around me that I am not going to be A, B, C, D. I'm just going, for now, this is where I am, this is what I am. That's where it starts. It's a boundary that you have to build by yourself. Unfortunately, many people fear building it, so they either attend a seminar, they try something, and they just find themselves bogged down. When you feel that, just know you've allowed your life to have no boundaries, so everybody is in and you are out, because you cannot be at the same place twice. So you're either in or out, and now they've made you become a stranger in your own life. You're ever fixing somebody's problem, responding to somebody's emergency, attending to somebody's crisis. And my dad taught me something. One of the most important lessons that my parents taught me is this, that don't create crises expecting us that we will respond at the speed at which you created that crisis. So I remember when I was young, I would get sometimes picked up by the police for doing some things or hanging around the wrong corners. That was your problem. How you got out? I stayed in for 4 days. You just stayed in. He said, that's your problem. And what has that taught me now? I don't create emergencies because I know what my dad says. I've lived my life.
Yeah.
I've never called you. When I make mistakes, I make mistakes I can correct,
yeah.
or my friends can correct.
Yeah.
I'm not your friend. I'm just your father. Anything you do with your friends, find friends to fix it. So it feels hard when it is being told, but slowly by slowly,
that you have to create.
You remove a load on your head, and it's the most important thing that you have to build.
Yeah.
It's a boundary you have to build. That hey, in every relationship, I need a boundary. And in every responsibility, I need a boundary. And so where do I put those boundaries so that I can function at my optimum?
Yeah, again, like you're saying, it is a very personal choice.
Personal choice.
And if you don't make it sooner rather than later,
it will be made for you.
It will be made for you.
You become redundant. But you're saying, but I'm tired. But you become redundant. You're no longer as creative as you are when you joined us.
Yeah. Not a great place to be. I want to talk about the role of technology in all of this, because technology has made us accessible 24 hours a day. You're in that WhatsApp group, whether you like it or not. It's a work group. You can't leave. I'm very passionate about WhatsApp groups. So how do we draw boundaries with technology just connecting us constantly? You're on social media. You're reachable.
That's why that 4G data bundles, you can put it on and off. And that's the thing we feel. We feel like we are indebted to be available.
Yeah.
And you're not indebted to be available. You are indebted to be responsible. I want to be available when I can be responsible. I don't want to be available just for the psychological feel that, well, I'm here, let's do this, let's do this. I found myself that people are just putting me in groups and groups and groups and groups and groups. And I made up my mind, let me get rid of these groups. Because first of all, data bundle, somebody's here seen a joke about so-and-so, I'm a tupapo picture. So-and-so is getting married, meme imerusha hapo. You wake up in the morning, by the time you find the important, you find that the person who sent you the important, because it's one message, then you get to 36 of this group. This is school alumni, this is this. Then I said, hey, this thing is now crossing my boundary.
Yeah.
I'm becoming less and less functional just because I cannot type there. I don't want to be seen as I left. And you know, wanakuambia, we jiringe tu ile siku utakuwa na shida, utajua umuhimu wa watu, we jifanye tu. But the truth of the matter is this, I'm already in problems. You doing this, you're telling me to wait for kutakuwa na shida. You doing this is creating problems for me. At night, you're sleeping, ting, ama unaona tu simu inawaka hivi. So it's important for you to say, just because I am accessible, it is not, I'm not indebted to be available to you. I have, life is tough. And unfortunately, we human beings have taught ourselves to make tough decisions last. And by the time you're making tough decisions last, the consequences have consolidated themselves against you of actions or inactions. Tough decisions need to be made earlier so that everything else from there becomes easier with time. But we say, okay, I need 1 more day. Let me stay 4 more days. You have to make the tough decision early. This is becoming too much. I cannot find myself. I'm not breathing. I'm not enjoying it. I've 117. I'm not trying to find the trail of thought because it moved from A, now we are at Z. I'm trying to find the trail of thought. I'm lost. So I just have to put, hey, I think I should leave this group. And I'll pay the consequences of not being in that group. But when the time comes, I would rather put energy and conserve this energy that I have in attaining a big picture rather than trying to find balance between, I was in a school called Kifaru Primary School, that school, I went to Catholic Parochial Nursery School, that alumni, then I went to St. Teresa's, that alumni, then I was at Technical University, that alumni, then East Africa School of that alumni, then my first car was a Mazda Group of Kenya, then there was an Opel. So when I have all these up, then I'm now trying to say, now, you send me an invite that we are supposed to do this tomorrow, and I would see it because you will write a one-liner and you will be uko chini. These guys are ever attacking and attacking. It's just you deciding, hey, when I ended with the Mazda, the painful thing is that Mazda ended there. I'm now with something else. And moving on is very, very important for you. So it's just for you to define for yourself. This balance that I want to attain is an illusion in my mind.
I left the family WhatsApp group. Like I'm that. The only groups I'm in right now are for work. And Even those ones I mute.
Even I find myself leaving the family one because you're like, as we come from quite big families.
My family has my phone number. My doctor is saying in my ear that I need my family. I need them. And they can call me when it's an emergency. Otherwise, I just start talking the whole day about nothing. This is my work-life balance. Saturdays are my day. Like, don't call me on I go as far as deleting the actual WhatsApp app because I might be tempted to just start, irrational conversations.
And then you find yourself over and over before long. How did I find myself in Nanyuki?
Exactly. So Saturdays are my day. You can't take that away from me. So I think even for busy people, there has to be some sort of time that you take for yourself and just, all of this self-reflection that we're talking about, creating a vision, just checking in with yourself. Maybe we can talk about why that's so important.
You see, man is not just this, what we call the tangible person. He consists of three other places: spirit, soul, and body. The way we wash our bodies. You see, if I came here the way I was yesterday in the morning, I was clean, I was sharp, but by 4 o'clock I was dusty. Probably by 6 o'clock I was sweaty. Probably by 8 o'clock, my eyes were looking dull. If I slept with those clothes, then showed up here today, maybe the clothes would still be okay, maybe not, but they would not be as clean as they are. I would not be as sweat. Now, if I met you on Thursday wearing what I wore on Sunday, now you'd start to feel you showered on Sunday, yes, but now your body is telling you by itself, is giving you feedback. Now, unfortunately, the soul does not know how to cry like the body. You see, if I cut my body like this, immediately it will emit blood because the body it will tell you, you hurt me, you hurt me. But the soul does not know how to cry like the body. So what the soul does, it starts creating anxieties. Slowly by slowly, that breakdown gets to your spirit, and that's the core, central part of you. Now what happens in your spirit is that you start feeling a sense of inadequacy. But you're still doing your functions, but all along you walk in the office, and when you walked in the corridor, boys moved to the edge because of the aura of confidence. But now all of a sudden, you feel like when I'm walking in the corridors, I feel small. I feel as if the corridors are longer. I'm tired. I'm overly anxious. I'm struggling to sleep. I'm struggling to make decisions. And what has happened? The soul does not cry like the body. It now begins to send signals to you that, hey, now you're taking longer making decisions. Now you're taking longer processing information. Now you're taking longer putting yourself in your performance condition. Now you're taking longer even investing in quality relationships. Why? Because that's how the soul cries. It will just create distress and anxiety.
Chaos.
In the soul. Yeah. So that chaos, your body will just be there, just obeying the routines of life because it has been used to wake up, shower. Because when your body does not shower, it will give immediate feedback. It will start stinking. If your body if it's hungry, it will make you aware. It will rumble. The body knows how to cry, but the soul does not know. So what you do, you should preempt it. You should know before, like we eat before we are hungry or when we are hungry. So how do we know? We know by 1 o'clock probably I'll be hungry. So you already start processing lunch na kulai. You make arrangements. How much money do I have? Can I do a meeting over lunchtime? Am I meeting somebody? You make plans where you're going because you don't want your body to cry. Because when your body is crying, you will have migraines. It will make itself that you will not do anything until you deal with its pain.
Yeah.
The soul is the same. So when the soul starts crying, it will start making it impossible for you to make decisions, impossible for you to connect with people at an emotional and psychological level because you don't know how to relate. You're not connecting with people. When the soul wants to cry, you'll find the drive and the will to live will go down. Now that will now get to the most sensitive part, which is the spiritual man. And when the spiritual man starts crying, you begin to feel inadequate, you begin to be paranoid, you feel a sense of, I think I'm going to die. You feel a sense of loss and grief, and yet you've not lost anything. You're not grieving over anything. Why? Because now that which started on the surface has now gotten to the core of you. And it's at that particular place that now we start hear of people being clinically depressed because the years of neglect in the soul and the spirit has caught up with them. So that's why that art of sitting down and introspectively, and it should not happen on Thursday. It should be 30 minutes, you take a break. there's a book I've written, read it, 30 minutes. It should be something like systematically, so that by the time you need to make hard decisions, your soul and your spirit, they're in a condition to make a hard decision and stand by it. That's why if you say things like, I had to leave my family WhatsApp group, there's a condition that you are in to make that decision.
Yes.
But somebody who is not in that condition will feel, where, hiyo sasa natokaje? Na sijui nani akiona nilitoka, sitaleta kesi, sijui basha makazo ndaenda, so naona kama ni snob. So you'll always feel like you're so much owned by corners of people and your own soul. You're not there now. Many people who are in some groups, they're there because they're just afraid of the shame of being seen they left, and they don't want to be the ones. But it's not providing that. But if you're not in that state, how will you make that decision?
Yeah. Another thing that goes along with work-life balance, is, as far as I'm concerned, is also getting rid of the toxicness of our lives, toxicity, if that's the word, time-wasting activities. Gossiping, spending too much time on social media, just doing things that are really not contributing to your bottom line. And yet, somehow we find ourselves, being fully in these activities. How can you talk to someone who's, just trying to be a little less toxic?
That is a sign that your mind has become conditioned by your environment to the point you cannot notice anything wrong with it. It's now gotten to a place your mind has already accepted that it cannot change. And so people who stay around toxic people and toxic environment, and the three toxic people are gossipers, slanderers, and scoffers. There are people who feel, I know better, I deserve more, but I'm not. So what do? They pick on somebody who is doing something better or trying to make a difference. This mind that has already adjusted itself to accept life at a minimum level wants everywhere to look like their village, and that's what happens with people. You come from don't know, Kenya, wherever. So everywhere you go, you're trying to rebuild your village. You're trying to make everything to shrink down so that you can fit in. And because you can't shrink everywhere down, so what do? You start shrinking the people to come down.
To your level.
To your level, so that you feel now, this is where I become king. When people are small, it's easier for me to become a king when people are small.
Yeah.
But for me to rise and rule over big people, I don't have the mental energy, I don't have the mental stamina and the mental strength. So I think it's important that when it comes to toxic people, you have to know that they are not actually destroying the person they're telling you they're destroying. They're destroying you. They're teaching you to look at people who are doing things with their life in bad taste, in bad light. They'll see me today and think, he's too black, he's too thin, I don't think. And they're teaching you, they're giving you an inner voice that will consistently tell you that people who are doing it well should be criticized. Yet, you should be learning from people who are doing it, not criticizing them. But they're planting that voice in you. But they only notice, I don't think I tell you nearly match. But they who told him this and this matches. But the truth of the matter is, matching your shirt and your shoe is not everything that makes the significance of a person.
Right.
There are people who don't wear what we wear and they're still doing it. So you plant that inner voice from those people, scoffers and these people that we call gossipers and slanderers. Before long, you'll be so surprised that success will be taking longer, meaning will be taking longer. You get into the office, you'll be finding that you'll always be finding fault with people because you're consistently a fault finder. If I wave, why did he wave? Excuse your ring. If I shake your hand, it was too tight. If I didn't shake it, you salimiatu na madharau nikasimaste. You're ever, because of the inner voice that you, because of the toxicity.
And it's very dangerous. We've heard these stories of young people, especially, taking in so much social media and the negativity there, and that becomes their identity. They no longer, regard themselves as talented or as beautiful or whatever it is that is currently trending at the time, because, like you're saying, so many voices. And so we have to be very careful of what we choose to take in. I'm going to take a look at some tweets, some more tweets that are coming through. We have Richard Stanley M saying relationships and responsibilities. The tension between relationships and responsibilities is what defines purpose. Balance is developing healthy boundaries. So obviously getting quite the amount of feedback from this discussion. Life Pool Chapel, when the soul starts crying, you will have no drive or will to live. And I think it's very, very important for us to realize when the soul starts crying. Now we know we're in trouble.
That's the hardest thing. I'm working on something. My second book coming out, it's called Kindle, but my third book is called Taboos. And I'm going into the back life of the light. I'm going into the people maybe who are seen in the light, and looking at how that, what we call the social machine, how people deem you in the light, and yet privately how you are crumbling in the dark. And most of the people who are crumbling in the dark has got very little to do that they don't feel loved by the people. Sometimes they have the balance between, it's not that I don't feel loved by the people, it's that the only people that love me for what I do.
I should be in your book then. We should have a conversation.
So everybody loves me for what I do. Whenever I cannot do, they look for another doer, and they turn this doer, and so they make us have to do. You cannot just wear your pajamas and your
go to the
Hatari
supermarket.
t-shirt and walk to the supermarket, because somebody somewhere will think that's off. And the person who will put the most pressure on you to be different, he's probably in his Hatari or Nyati t-shirt, whatever Nyati is, those are Ngombe t-shirt, and he,
I had the hat.
You have a hat ya Nyati.
Ya Ngombe.
Ya Ngombe. Nyinyi wa Ukambani lazima, nyinyi ndo
It's
mnatumianga
yellow
hiyo
and
mbambaya.
red.
Hiyo ndio So that conditioning that we have to be doers. I work with a lot of people, and sometimes people, whenever I walk in, even into a space, people just feel like telling me things. Oh, by the way, have you decided this and this and this and this? And I tell them, like for me, when I'm eating, I don't answer calls. I don't.
Wow.
I say, this is the only time.
That's
if
a
I'm
boundary
eating,
for you.
That's a boundary. I don't answer, even for my mother. And I say, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So if I don't take this food, even
What's
the
the
energy
worst?
to fix it will
Yeah,
not be there.
yeah.
But people just feel like, and you have to keep on teaching people that, hey, I'm not just about doing. You walk out, somebody saying, can you do this for me? Can you write this for me? Can you get this for me? And they want you to always be on the do mode. And slowly by slowly, you become what some psychologists say, you cease from being a human being, you now become a human doing.
Wow.
So you are more of a machine than a soul. And so everybody around you starts taking from you. And that's the problem. And that's why looking at it, and so we're looking at those are the taboos that are picking up on people. And so now it's not the work, now it's the life that now has been suffocated. That now we have workers who have no life. They have no water to water this tree that you're calling work.
And that's the foundation, that's the substance,
That's the substance
of everything.
We build our work. Work is the tree that grows up is because of the water, which is life that you're giving it. So if the water dries up, eventually this tree will dry up. At first it was exciting, maybe your first major TV appearance, it really mattered. But it gets to a place now, it has opened you up, this camera, to people who feel they know you and you've never met them. You know, I actually tell people, sometimes you walk in the streets and people feel, why didn't you greet me? And I know you. And it's like in their mind they feel you owe me to know you, and you can't greet me.
Yeah.
You are proud, you are arrogant, you are self-centered, and they don't even know sometimes you're going through grief. Sometimes it's just from a funeral. Life is happening to you. Maybe a family member has lost a job or a child, or you're battling sickness. Life is not just this, what we have here. There's something happening in the dark that we cannot wear it in the streets like everybody else.
My favorite is the people who stop you and say, where do I know you from? So I'm like, let me take time out of my day to tell you where you know me from.
I don't know. Same school you go. We were in the same school.
Kuna mahali.
Shule. Why are you in Kalimoli Girls? He says, no, I've seen this. But it's just how we get so hijacked by, now we are losing the life because of the work. And once you lose the life, now your work lacks meaning.
All right, perhaps just as we get ready to finish here, you can talk to someone who might be stuck in a rut. because we get into these routines sometimes, and like you were saying, we normalize it. So that we even forgot there was such a thing as work-life balance. You know, we're just work all the time. Like, you know, routines make it very easy for us to feel stuck sometimes. How, you know, what's the first step if you want to get out, if you want to find your life again?
I think you need to create a new ritual that gives you opportunity to also be where there is life, because the healthiest life rejuvenating environments are training programs, reading, and personal time, rest. If you don't have that by yourself, creating that for yourself, investing in that, then the substitute is that you'll say, now we have to look for the party so that we can have life. I find that, and I've told people, boredom has destroyed more people, more than even the mosquito. Because people feel bored. I have worked for 30 days, I have earned, and I am bored. So what do? Every Friday must be a party. Every Tuesday there's a ladies' night. Every Thursday. So you're ever trying to now create the life because you're bored. But by the time you're going to get work, the work should have been, what life do I want to expand in me? Life should be the self-sustaining culture that I've created for myself. So it starts there. You have to start saying, there are people, and I tell you, people buy this book, and somebody says, oh, I bought your book. I don't even know where I placed it, by the way. And they feel like it's offending me, or it's hurting me. Or they buy any other book of any author, whether it's Austin or whoever they buy, and they just don't read it. And if you don't read in the first place, you are choking the life. You are drowning the well that is feeding the tree so that the tree can grow higher. So it starts there. It starts by you saying, hey, I need rest. And by resting, si kuingia kwa blanketi nimelala, is saying, hey, the information I have used for the last 3 years is starting to be outdated. I need an upgrade. So what do? I need to take breaks so that I start reading here, reading there, getting information here. That will help to rejuvenate your spirit of life. Now, when it gets to the work side of the continuum, what must happen first of all is for you to know your healthy boundary. You must know that I don't go to work just to earn a living. I go to work to make a difference. And when I start thinking difference over living, I'll start asking myself the critical questions. What would I do to threaten me making a difference? So what must I be? I must be different. I must be the difference in the work. I must be the difference. And for me to be the difference, I must be a person of value. And for me to be a person of value, I'll say what I repeatedly say, where there is investment is where there'll be value. If there is no investment, there'll be no value. If I have 1 acre of land and I plant maize in half an acre, I'll only harvest in half an acre. The other half an acre could have produced, but because there was no investment, there will be no value. So if I want to be the difference in the place, I have to be the value in that place. And for me to have value, I must make investments. And so my work must be seen to be growing better, brighter, significant, because I must want to be, I must have purpose for working. Or else I'm just saying, na work nichapedo, nitoke kwa maadhi, then niende nikae solo, nikuwe nikichafua. And that attitude has gotten us stuck in that rut. In that rut. Because now you're not living with your mom, but now you've got more problems than when you are living with your mom.
Yeah, so it all has to start with a change of mindset. We've been talking about work-life balance and what that looks like in this day and age. Thank you so much, Welly Odendo, for being here, breaking that down. I'm going to go feed my soul and my body
before it starts crying.
Before it starts crying. Willis Abreu is going to be coming up a little bit later on. We'll be talking about badminton. Sorry, I'm feeding my soul. But stay tuned. Power Breakfast continues next.